Very good morning. Hello everyone. So welcome back to Crack Grade B and let's start today's topic. So we were going to do Amrut 2.0, right? So in Amrut 2.0, see, we have already seen yesterday what is Amrut mission is all about, right? But in Amrut 2.0, because watching about the scarcity, that water scarcity that we are facing in India, Amrit 2.0, you will see that it has major components related to water action plans, right? There are some other components as well, like the sewage maintenance as well as maintaining the green parks. All of that components are there also. But the water is the prime focus in Amrit 2.0. Good morning. So let's start with it. So Amrut 2.0 we have launched in October 2021. This was for 5 years, that means up to 25-26. Target was again 500 cities. The aim of this particular Amrut 2.0, see what I have said is that in Amrut mission we are obviously going to focus on green park, green areas, sewage treatment, right, sustainable living, but the prime focus of the 2.0 mission is focused on the making the areas as water secure. So the outlay is 2,99,000 crores, including central outlay of 76,000 crores. Separate funding of 22,000 will be provided for ongoing projects. That means whatever the projects are there in Amrut 1.0, we are going to provide the funding for that. After that, objective is to provide 100% funding of water supply to all households in and around 4,700 urban local bodies, right? So the components of this particular mission is ULBs will submit detailed city water balance plan as well as city water action plans through online portal. That means here it is the responsibility of urban local bodies that they are going to tell that what is the water availability in their city areas, right, and how the actions they are going to take. That means the supply related, that how they are going to provide water supply to every households. Apart from that, how they'll reduce the non-revenue water. Apart from that, if any kinds of maintenance or other things that are needed or any kind of repair work that is needed, that will also form part of your water action plans. Now the mission is going to focus on the following areas. What are the following areas? Water supply, yes. Sewage management, stormwater drainage to reduce flooding. I hope you understand the meaning of this. Non-motorized urban transport as well as the green spaces and park. Now next is Pay Jal Sarvekshan. Pay Jal Sarvekshan means just like census happens. Why does census happen? Census happens in order to see that what is the population, what is the demography of the population, right? What is the age, what is the education, what are the occupations that we are doing, every kind of information. So Payajal Sarvekshan also means in the same way that you are going to fetch every kind of detail related to water. So Payajal Sarvekshan is proposed in cities as a challenge process to assess the compliance of service level benchmarks with respect to what is the quality, quantity and the coverage of water supply, how is the sewage management going on, what is the extent of reuse and recycle happening and conservation of water bodies in the city. Going ahead, you will witness that there is also a mandate of conservation of a water body in the city, and this particular thing is dependent on the population. The more number of population you are going to have, the more number of water bodies you have to restore as well as preserve, right? Because wetlands play a very important role in the economic architecture of city or any kind of water bodies, because ultimately they lead to groundwater recharge and also provide so many other types of ecological services. Hence these are very important. Moving ahead, public-private partnership projects are mandatory in million-plus cities, and at least a minimum of 10% of total fund allocation at the city level shall be committed to the public-private partnership projects. Million plus cities, I hope you understand that the cities we are referring to the population over here. So all those cities which are having a population of more than a million, you have to make at least 10% reservation for the public-private partnership. That means you have to involve private sector as well in whatever kind of projects you are developing. Moving ahead, over outcome-based funding. That means the funding will be given as per the outcomes you have achieved. Evidence-based evaluation will also happen through the online monitoring platform. Next is community partnership. Community partnership means we are going to focus on women self-help groups, right? And they will help us with the management of water infrastructure as well as the quality assessment. This will be done through the in association with National Urban Livelihoods Mission. So you are going to achieve twin objectives. First of all, you are going to tell women members that you should be formulating yourself into a self-help groups, and once those self-help groups are formed, you are using them. You can understand that this is a type of social audit only. You are letting the self-help groups participate, and then through them you are going to manage your water resources and the other kinds of implementation, right? Moving ahead, the funds 5,340 crores has been earmarked as the reform incentive. What does reform incentive means? See, incentives are always provided when you improve your performance, when you have established that okay, we have achieved this particular thing, then government is going to provide you the incentive. So here 8% of the annual budget allocation will be given as a reform incentive to states, UTs every year on the achievement of reforms from the second years. Whatever things have been mentioned under this particular mission, if as a state and UT you are able to achieve it, then we are going to provide you. What you have to remember under this is what is the quantum of reform incentive. Number one point, you have to remember that reform incentive is provided to your states as well as UTs under the Amrut 2.0, but you have also remember that 8% is the quantum. So 8% of the annual budget is what you have to preserve for reform incentive. Then your administrative and other expenses, 3.25% of annual budget allocation. See, for operation of any kind of scheme, you need manpower, right? Manpower is there, which is not directly working at the site, but supporting you from back end. So all these administrative related work, that means setup of office, taking the files of the schemes, processing the what you can say whatever projects are coming, processing the claims for that those particular projects, you need an administrative setup for that. But administrative related expenses, there is a cap on it, and it has been provided that they cannot go beyond 3.25% of their annual budget. Central assistance has been divided into two components. Component number one, it will comprise of the central assistance for project which has been approved under the SWAP, that is installments will be given under 20-40-40. And the next component is here what you are going to do, you are going to provide the beneficiary led support. Beneficiary led support means funding at the rate of 3,000 rupees will be happening per new household's water tap connections, and similarly you are going to provide the funding of 3,000 for each new household sewer connection provided in all 500 Amrut urban local bodies beyond the baseline. Now what is the baseline over here is, baseline means that all those new connections that you have provided after this particular date of 1st November 2021. So the more work you have done, the more funding will be provided to you by the central level. Next is, and that is your action plans, right? So whatever action plan you have decided, that will be given by the central under 20-40-40 ratio. Next is Amrut 2.0 mission. It is going to promote public-private partnership. Yes, it has been mandated for cities which are having million plus population that they should be taking up public-private partnership projects worth minimum of 10% of their total fund allocation. So this particular point we have already seen it, right? Now next is for the projects which have been planned for the implementation under the public-private partnership mode in the cities with a population of above 10 lakhs, the state or urban local bodies, they are going to prepare the appropriate financial models, right? And total viability gap for a project should be 60% of the project cost. 50% of the viability gap not exceeding 30% of the project cost will be admissible to be funded as the central assistance. Now understand this. First thing, what does we mean by the viability gap? Viability gap means, suppose you are undertaking a particular project, right? That particular project is costing you 100 crores, but the revenue which you can generate out of that particular project is not exceeding 40 crores during its entire lifetime. This means viability gap means the cost which you are incurring and the estimated revenue that you will be able to generate. The gap between this is called as the viability gap. Viability gap means this project is not that much sustainable. The cost which we are incurring is 100 crores and the revenue which we are estimating that we'll be able to generate is just 40 crores. So that means there is a viability gap of 60 crores. So that's what this particular point is making over here. It is saying that on the cost, whatever cost you are incurring, viability gap should not be more than 60% of the project cost, right? 60% of the project cost, viability gap should not be more than that. And in this particular viability gap, government is going to provide you 50% central assistance. That means if I talk about my example, 100 crores was the cost, 40 crores is the revenue that I am estimating. Viability gap is 60 crores, that it is not exceeding 60% of my cost, right? Understood? Now in this 60 crore, government is going to provide me the 30 crores, right? Or central assistance that I will be getting is 30 crores. That means the 50% of whatever my viability gap is. Now, what are my city action plan, water action plans? So the city water action plans will comprise the list of projects which are proposed by the urban local bodies in the priority sectors of water supply, sewage management, rejuvenation of water bodies including green spaces and park. It will be ensured that simply whatever you are doing is whether on the basis of city, that means the CWAP, or we are talking about SWAP, that means the state related action plans. What we are doing over here is we are just maintaining the list of projects that should be done under the locations of my city, related to water, related to sewage, related to green spaces or the park. It will be ensured that whatever projects have been taken up, 20% of city's water demand should be met through recycle or reuse of the treated used water. So obviously the sewage focus that we are having over here, we are mandating that at least 20% should be the from treated or the reused water. So these limits are very important for all of you because you have to remember these particular limits. They can be asked. Now major reforms are, what kind of major reforms we have undertaken? First of all, reducing non-revenue water to below 20%. What is the meaning of non-revenue water over here? Non-revenue water means you must have seen that few people, they do not take water connections, metered water connections, and they do water theft, right? So on this particular water, government is not getting any kind of revenue. Hence it will be known as the non-revenue water. Apart from it, you must also have seen that sometimes there are leakages in the pipeline, right? And that pipeline is not repaired by the government over a certain period of time. Sometimes they repair it, sometimes they do not. So now the leakage which is happening out of that particular pipeline, water is getting wasted, right? Government is not getting any kind of revenue on that, so that is also called as the non-revenue water. And the limit or the aim which government is giving you over here is you have to bring it down below 20%. You have to bring it down below 20%. Now, recycle of treated used water should be meeting at least 20% of your city water demand and 40% for the industrial water demand at the state level. So for industries, there is a more scope of using the treated or the reused water, right? So hence for industries the limit has been enhanced. Now talking about the SWAP. So under SWAP also what we are going to do, we are just listing that the project wise what are the numbers of new household water tap connections, new sewer connections, coverage of existing water tap, and which shall be outcomes of such projects. First of all, that means you are going to list out what are the projects you have, right? And in those particular projects, what are the numbers of water related connections, what are the number of sewer related connections. Understood? Nothing much to understand over here. Now next is rejuvenation of the water bodies with area preferably 1 acre. So if we have to develop the water supply or we have to maintain the water availability, what we have to do is that we have to enable groundwater recharge as much as it is possible. Why? Because in urban localities or in the urban setup, we have seen that there is a great concretization of the surface, and hence the water is not able to percolate in the ground, right? So groundwater recharge is not happening. Therefore, this particular component has been inserted in the AMRUT 2.0. Why? Because in the AMRUT 2.0, we want to make our cities water surplus. And if we want to make them water surplus, we have to obviously treat the water, reuse it again, but the first and foremost step is whatever rainwater we are collecting, we should be able to reach that particular rainwater to the ground level. And because of that, rejuvenating the water bodies is very important. What does the meaning of rejuvenating? Rejuvenating means to enable them to hold water once again. See, city population, if it is above 40 lakhs, then the number of bodies which should be rejuvenated is 5. 10 lakhs to 40, 3, 1 lakh to 10, 2, and less than 1 lakh is 1. 24/7 water supply with the drink from tap facility in the selected wards. Development of green spaces and park, right? Each park should not be below 0.5 acres. Now, what are the number of green spaces that need to be developed or augmented? If the population is between 50,000 to 1 lakh, then 2. And if it is less than 50,000, then 1. Next, talking about the funding related thing. So, I have told you the concept of credit rating. Every kind of institution has a credit rating. Even as an individual, we have got credit scores. The credit scores are developed on how we have made the repayment of our loan related liabilities, right? So based on that, our credit scores develop, and watching that particular credit score, the future loans are provided to us. This is in the similar fashion. India as a nation, it also gets credit rating, right? There are so many companies out there in the market, they also get credit rating. If they want to take the funding from the public, they have to get the credit rating. And therefore, urban local bodies are not the new concept over here. Urban local bodies are also known as the municipal corporation, municipalities, and hence what we are trying to do over here is we are trying to provide them the credit rating. Now see over here, credit rating and issuance of the municipal bonds. This reform will involve credit rating of the tier 2 cities. Population is between 50,000 to 99,000, enhancing credit worthiness of AMRUT urban local bodies and issuance of the municipal bonds. See, every kind of work that we are doing or we are providing or the government is providing, we need funding for that, right? Funding is very important, but we also know that central government is also facing fiscal deficit and it does not have enough money to provide for all these schemes. Obviously, it is providing, but urban local bodies, being a corporation, they can take the funds from the market as well. And in order to enable them so that they can take money out of the market, this particular municipal bond facility has been provided to them. What are the bonds? So bonds are of many types, right? For you, the basic thing which I am trying to explain you over here is bond means it is a kind of loan that you have taken from the market and you are going to pay a fixed interest on it. This fixed interest can be paid yearly. This could be in the form of zero coupon bond as well. So we have already understood the types of bonds in our finance related class, right? So not going to go deeper in that. Now, online municipal services. See, urban local bodies provide so many kinds of services related to property tax. Property tax, I have told you, this is the single most important source of revenue for urban local bodies. Death and birth certificate, shop licenses, health licenses, as well as the grievances redressal. You have to ensure that there should be an online delivery of all the municipal services. Next is electric vehicle charging points in the cities which are above the population of 50,000, because obviously that will be leading to a thriving city. We are having much more effort. Even in income tax, the government has provided a deduction on account of purchase of electrical vehicles, right? So we are supporting the purchase and manufacturing of electric vehicles, but these electric vehicles will not be having any use if there are not enough charging points. So hence there is a provision for charging points as well. Next is GIS based master plans of class 2 towns with a population of this, that means the tier 2 cities having a population of 50,000 and 99,000. The sub scheme will be in line of Amrit GIS sub scheme. What we are trying to do over here is we are going to create a geo database. Next is we are going to prepare master plans as well as the capacity building. Geo database means whatever work you are going to do or what you have done, that should be on the maps. So we should be able to online monitoring it. Next is sub schemes on local area plans and the town planning schemes. Not very important. Finally, technology related submission. Now technology related submission, just a little brief of it. See, there can be technologies in whatever kind of thing you are doing, right? There is always a better way of performance, and that better way of performance can be made more better with the use of technology. So we cannot deny that we can make use of the technologies for watering our green parks. One thing, we can make use of technology in the sewer management. We can have more new technologies in it which can make the water more reusable, and we can apply that particular treated water to more uses, right? So there is always a scope of invention, and therefore we have got a technology sub scheme over here. Technology sub scheme means we are going to promote the startups so that they can take up the new technologies, and hence they have been made a part of this particular mission. See over here, the startups will be encouraged in water and the sewage sector. The startups who are fulfilling the definition given by the Startup India initiative, they will be eligible to participate. The projects for the startups which are costing up to 20 lakhs will be approved by the State Water Startup Screening Committee. Next is startup projects with path-breaking technologies which are costing more than 20 lakhs will be approved by National Water Startup Screening Committee. So what you have to remember under this is that we do have a component to encourage the startups, number 1 point. Number 2 point, what you have to remember is the limit of the project. So up to 20 lakhs, if the project is having the cost of, or the technology upgradation that you are doing, if it is having a cost of up to 20 lakhs, then State Water Startup Screening Committee will do the job, and if it is more than 20 lakhs, then obviously the thing has to go to the National Water Startup Screening Committee. Now, in this particular screening committee, they are telling you that there will be representatives of the Ministry of Housing Affairs, Central Public Health and Environmental Engineering Organization, and whosoever are the experts in the water sector. Please remember this, that in the National Water Screening Committee, you have got the representatives of the Ministry of Housing. Remember this. Now, next is Lighthouse Projects. Lighthouse Projects are what I have already made you understand in the yesterday's lecture. Now, under this, what we are trying to say is national international agencies, they will be encouraged to take up lighthouse projects and demonstrate the results in the water sector. 20% of the project cost restricted to 50 lakhs will be reimbursed to the agency by the Ministry of Housing. Now, what we are trying to say over here is, I am going to explain you lighthouse projects once again. Listen to me very carefully. So lighthouse projects are, once you have developed a technology, you have to implement that particular technology, right? Well, suppose you have invented a new kind of thing. Now you have to implement it and you have to show it to the world that, okay, the technology that we have developed, it actually works. Right? So government is saying, please go ahead with the lighthouse projects. Please show us that these particular technologies that you have developed, they actually work. And if they did, we are going to provide you the reimbursement, 20% of the project cost or 50 lakh rupees, right? Whatever amount that you have incurred on these particular lighthouse projects. Moving ahead. In AMRUT 2.0, we have very important focus on the wells and aquifers, right? Because they are important for the groundwater recharge, and if there will be groundwater, then only our tap waters or the other kinds of water facilities will work. Otherwise, they will not. Next is 1 lakh persons are targeted to be trained under capacity building program. Finally, you have got information education and the communication campaign. We are trying to convert the campaign into a movement, that is the Jan Andolan, by including senior citizens, homemakers, NGOs, etc. We want to educate everyone about the importance of water, why we should use water very scarcely, right? And in general, creating an understanding that water is a scarce resource, it is not unlimited, and you should be saving every drop of water if you can. So this is the thing. Now the next things, these can be read by you on your own. The last thing which I would like to discuss is the funding for the projects. Now, funding for the various projects that will be shared by center, states, UTs and urban local bodies. Central share for the various classes of urban local bodies. See, what we are going to talk about here is what will be the central assistance that will also depend on the type of urban bodies or in which area where is the. See, sandbox concept is, the question is, what is the difference between lighthouse and the sandbox concept? If I say, then these are more or the less similar things, right? What we do in regulatory related sandbox concept is that we implement the project or we test the project with the limited set of customers, right? And under the guided regulatory environment. So I can say that those particular regulatory sandboxes are the products which are used over there are different, like your insurance related products can be over there, your payment related products can be over there. So basically in sandbox concept, what we are actually doing is we are checking the implementation of the electronic things or the online things or such like things, right? Suppose we have developed a technology related payment system, so we want to check it with the limited number of customer base and with the limited set of regulatory conditions, right? So in that, sandbox concept is applicable. Now under lighthouse concept is, here we are talking about the construction like of buildings, right? Like of a machinery, the actual machinery. We are not talking of anything that exists on internet. Understood my point? So therefore, no. Just understand, we are going to differentiate it on the basis of the products or the technology for which we are using. The sandboxes are more apt for all the products like which happens on the internet basis or a customer related or service oriented products. Here and the Lighthouse, what you are doing is you are talking about the manufacturing related products. Suppose you have developed a new machinery. So constructing a machinery is a physical thing, right? Developing a insurance product, you are not going to construct anything. That is relation to a service thing. So that is how we are going to differentiate it. Moving ahead, see, central share for various classes of urban local bodies. If the urban local bodies is in union territory, then 100% of the project fund by the center. If it is in northeastern states or Himalayan states, 90% of the projects funds by the center. With less than 1 lakh population, 50% projects by center. With population 1 lakh to 10 lakhs, both included, 1/3 of the project funds by the center, 33% approximately. And if the population is more than 10 lakhs, then the 25% of the project fund will be by the center. Now under here you will see that as your population increases, the funding which is provided by the center is decreasing. Why it is so? Why the funding is being decreasing? Because understand this, as soon as your population increases, that means that you are able to generate resources or the revenue by yourself. By meaning of that, I want to say, suppose I have told you that the property tax is the single most important source of revenue for urban local bodies, and if you are an urban local body which is having a population of 20 lakhs, then it is enough that you are able to generate enough revenues by yourself. Therefore the center support is decreasing as your population is increasing, right? So next is RBI scheme. This particular scheme we have already understood and already have talked about this when we were reading Amrut Mission. And one more thing which I would like to tell you is this particular scheme was for the development of heritage cities by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. This is not being implemented at the right currently, because this has been discontinued from 2019 onwards. Correct. So we'll just see the name and what does this particular scheme actually works, and then we'll move forward quickly. So this scheme was launched in 2015. The duration was for 4 years till 31st March 2019. The target was 12 cities, right? What we wanted to do actually in this particular scheme was to preserve the heritage cities, to undertake strategic and planned development of heritage cities. The scheme was a central sector scheme, right? And under which ministry? Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. And this particular scheme has ended in 2019, and there are no new projects that were taken up. 12 cities in which this has been implemented: Ajmer, Amravati, Badami, Dwarka, Gaya, Kanchipuram, Mathura, Puri, Varanasi, Velakanni, Vellore and Warangal. So these are all the heritage cities that were identified under this. No need to remember them because scheme has already ended. What you can remember is that it was a central sector scheme for 12 cities, right? The name of the scheme as well as under which ministry it comes. That is more than enough. Next is your Swachh Bharat Mission. So under Swachh Bharat Mission, what we tried to do, everyone is aware, correct? There is no need to explain what were the intentions of Swachh Bharat Mission. So under Swachh Bharat Missions, what we are trying, we tried to make it as open defecation free, to make urban India free from open defecation and achieving 100% scientific management of the municipal solid waste. What is the coverage? All urban areas of all the state and UTs should be becoming ODF free, except the one urban local body of West Bengal. So funding pattern has been 75 to 25 for normal states and 90s to 10 for northeastern as well as the special category states, right? The gap in the financing could be met by beneficiary contribution, private funding, as well as funds for companies under the corporate social responsibility. This went to the Swachh Bharat Kosh of Ministry of Finance. Very important for you to remember that Swachh Bharat Kosh is formed under which ministry? Right, contributions from where is coming? You can understand that okay, there are beneficiary contributions. The contributions we are also getting from the private companies in form of the corporate social responsibility, but this is very important to remember. Now talking about the Swachh Bharat Mission Urban 2.0, here you will see that there are so many new concepts that were introduced: ODF, ODF plus, ODF plus plus, water plus. So these particular components are important to understand. So what we have done is we have taken the open defecation free concept to a newer scale, that whether your all public toilets are functioning or not, right? Apart from it, whether you are treating the wastewater or not, plus the water plus means all the wastewater should be retreated. You should be having the efficient treatment facilities, correct? So all of these things you are going to see under this particular mission. Swachh Bharat Mission Urban 2.0, what is the period of implementation? From 2021 to 2026. Now let's see what is the vision under this particular Swachh Bharat mission. So it will be implemented with a vision of achieving garbage free status for all cities. So there are garbage collecting vehicles that are moving in your areas. I am also very sure. So they have a special song for them, and they move on in the daytime or in the morning time especially. So yes, the garbage free status is linked with all those vehicles, right? All households and the premises that are segregating their waste into wet waste, dry waste, this should be happening. So if you see the vehicle of this Swachh Bharat mission that is visiting our home every morning, they have two pits, one separately for wet waste and one pit is separately for dry waste. That is another whole lot scenario that most of the homes, they do not differentiate between dry waste and wet waste. But yes, government has made the arrangement to take the garbage out of your home from your doorsteps, and they have also provided you the segregation related thing. And I guess you should always be practicing this particular thing. You should always be segregating your waste into dry and wet waste, because that has, yes, so that is the song and it is quite famous as well. And I hope this is a great thing, because earlier we have seen that there were the garbage related centers, and not official centers but unofficial centers out of every few other homes. So that was not hygienic, and with this particular collection vehicle we have become more hygienic. Our cities have become more hygienic, right? So next is 100% door-to-door collection of segregated waste from each household, 100% scientific management of all fractions of waste. All legacy dump sites are remediated and they are converted into green zones. So this is the concept of landfill, right? So there are landfills also. They have so many different kinds. They can be sanitary landfills. They can be not non-sanitary landfills. Like suppose whenever you are dumping your waste into a particular land area, first that particular land should be what you can say, there should be a layer of plastic which should be laid off, and on that particular layer of plastic or layer of coverage you should be dumping the waste. Because what happens is, if this is an unsanitary landfill, that means you have not created a layer of plastic before dumping the waste, then it will lead to percolation of hazardous chemicals into the groundwater. So therefore landfills are made sanitary, and then the waste is dumped onto them, and once the waste has been dumped enough, then it is leveled and a park is created on the top of that, so that nothing sort of contaminations or the rotting of the materials that will affect the citizens living in that particular area. All used water, including fecal sludge, especially in smaller cities, are safely contained, transported, processed and disposed so that no untreated fecal sludge and the used water pollutes the groundwater or the local bodies. Now, what are the objectives we have? Solid waste management, treatment of used water, awareness creation and institutionalizing the Jan Andolan along with the Swachh behavior, right? Focus is on sustaining the sanitation and the solid waste management outcomes. Financial outlay under it is a financial outlay of 1,41,600 including central share of 36,465 for a period which is over 2.5 times the financial outlay of the 62,000 crores in the last phase of the mission. Now, what are the mission components for funding? That means you are going to provide funding for what activities? Solid waste management, sustainable sanitation, used water management, IEC activities as well as the capacity buildings. Now, what are the outcomes that are expected to be achieved? So, all statutory town means that you should be having a municipal corporation or notified area committee or a cantonment board. So you must have seen that in the army areas there are not municipal corporations but the cantonment boards, right? They also perform the same kind of municipal level functions. So if in areas you are having any kind of cantonment board, notified area committee or municipal bodies, then that will be called as the statutory town. So all statutory towns should be certified at least 3-star garbage free or higher. They should become at least ODF plus. What is the meaning of ODF plus? We are going to come on that. All statutory towns with less than 1 lakh populations become at least ODF plus plus, right? Why? Because if the population is less, it is easier to achieve the ODF plus plus status, and at least 50% of all statutory towns with less than 1 lakh population should become water plus. So now let's see what is the meaning of ODF, ODF plus plus and water plus your certifications. See, meaning of ODF plus, at ODF. Here, at any point of day, not a single person is found defecating in the open. This is your ODF. Now, ODF plus means your public toilets should be functional and well maintained. That means ODF plus means that is understood that nobody is defecating outside of their home. But public toilets should also be functional. So that is your ODF plus status. Moving on, what is ODF plus plus? So all these two conditions should be there, that nobody is defecating outside plus all the public toilets are functioning. But apart from that, entire sewage including the fecal sludge and septage, they are safely managed, treated with no open discharge and dumping of entire untreated sewage in water bodies, right? So that means if you are having sewage treatment plan in place, then that is called as the ODF plus plus, right? So these are the 3 stages, and every particular town is going to be from all these phrases, and our ultimate objective is that we should be achieving the status of ODF plus plus, and along with that we also need a water plus status. So what is a water plus status? So city, ward, work circle, they can be notified as water plus provided all domestic used water including the septage that has been released from the households or the commercial institutions that should be collected, treated to a satisfactory level, and this used water is including the treated effluent water is reused before releasing the excess into the water bodies in a sustainable manner. So here you should also include the concept of reuse plus obviously the treatment part is there. You have to treat all the domestically used water as well as septage, right? After treatment, you have to leave it to the water bodies. So why Ganga is too much polluted? Why? Because all the towns, most of the towns that are located at the banks of Ganga, they are not treating the sewage and the other related industrial discharges. They are just being discharged like that in Ganga, and therefore Ganga is too much populated. Especially in the Kanpur, it is too much populated that you cannot even think of going near Ganga, right? So these are the reasons for it. Now what is the reuse? We have just seen that in Amrit mission they are telling you that you have to reuse the 20% of the treated water. That means in the use, you have to make sure that 20% of all the city uses, 20% should be the treated water. And in relation to the industrial establishments, this particular percentage comes up at the 40%. That means whatever total requirements of industries are in your local body area, in that 40% should be met through treated water. So we can use the treated water for so many things, right? So there are next thing is our PM Swanidhi. We have had a brief discussion about this particular scheme before also, so I'll be moving very quickly in this. PM Swanidhi launched in 1st June 2020, obviously at the peak of COVID. Why? Because the street vendors, they are not employed by anyone, right? They are self-employed, and hence all the employment or all the expenses of theirs necessity is met through their employment, and they were having a severe crisis during the time of COVID. So here government is supporting them financially so that they can restart and rejuvenate their business. This particular scheme has been extended till the December 2024 time period. Going to discuss just the first thing over here, because rest of the thing we'll be going to discuss tomorrow. So what we are doing over here, government is providing the working capital loan of up to 10,000 to the street vendors to incentivize regular payment and to reward digital transaction. The scheme is very important. It is a central sector scheme which is fully funded by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, and here we are providing collateral free working loan up to 10,000 of 1 year tenure to street vendors so that they can restart their business which was adversely impacted under the COVID-19 pandemic. Under this particular scheme, we also have the components related to credit guarantee and whatsoever, and we are going to discuss this particular scheme tomorrow with more detailed discussion. But for today, I'll keep it to this particular point only. And thank you so much for watching this, and if you like this video, do not forget to hit the like button, and thank you.